All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of the Remarkable Coach podcast. As always, I'm your host, Michael Pacheco. And today with me, I have Jadi Kindred. Canadian-born author, Jadi Kindred is an entrepreneur, world traveler, and intuition coach. Jadi wrote Intuitive Business Connections, Grow a Business from Zero to Six Figures in an Intuitive Way. She's passionate about helping other entrepreneurs and business professionals live more intuitively, authentically, and have a balanced and joyful life. Jadi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Michael. So happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for making time for it. I know you're in Costa Rica right now, but you live outside of Montreal. Are you currently doing a retreat of some kind?
Actually, I am helping out at a retreat. I'm
Okay.
helping at a retreat center, these busy, burnt out professionals who are taking this time for themselves. And I'm, holding a space for them, offering them, these high vibe fruit juices and helping them kind of like almost coaching them just naturally through whatever they're dealing with and trying to have an action plan when they get home. So yeah, I am at a retreat, but serving, I guess, serving in a different way.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I read on your website that you do retreats in Costa Rica and help me out in Canada. Is that right?
Yeah, this is a future goal to hold my own retreats. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm just serving at a retreat that's already in place. But yeah, that's like one of my ultimate goals is to really like bring in business professionals and take time off and recenter. I'm such an advocate for saying we all have our own answers. We all have our own wisdom. Like a coach is there to, I think, for me, one reason a coach is there is to hold and create space for someone to just have this time for their own answers to come through in whatever areas of their life that they want to work on. It's like, I'm not even attached to the title. Like, okay, I say intuition coach and then empowerment coach and then happiness coach and relationship coach and career coach. It's like, it doesn't matter the title. I really don't care about the title. It's,
It's
I'm a
all about
human.
money.
Huh?
I said it's all about the money.
Yeah. I'm here whole like call me whatever you want, but I'm here in service of another person to help them coach themselves to, the lifestyle of their dreams. And I don't know what that is for them. Only they know what's true for them. So yeah, I just love it. It's just in full alignment. Just being here in Costa Rica and helping them. But yes, I would like to hold my own, either in Costa Rica or at my home in Canada as well.
So yeah, I love that. I want to circle back to that and talk more about that. But before we do that, typically at the beginning of this podcast, I like to invite our guest to just tell us a little bit more about yourself in your own words and kind of what you got into coaching and your why and anything else you'd like to share.
Yeah. I got into coaching through my own coach. I started my own company. It was a language school, and I worked with business professionals for over a decade. Then the boom, COVID happened, and there's a big paradigm shift. I think there was a big global paradigm shift that happened where people were more open to online courses, and so then the demand, was too intense, and I really started for the first time managing my company instead of being in my company. I was really managing my company and I built a team and now they're off teaching. And so at that time I was like, okay, this is my 10-year anniversary. I want to gift myself with a business coach. And
Mhm.
so after months and months, pretty much at the end of my coaching, my coach was like, JD, there's something about you. You would be an amazing coach. And I've already coached for a decade, in a different way, but to be really an intentional, like, oh, to call myself that, I call, oh, English coach or, again, these titles. But he really planted that, oh, you could be, an intentional coach for other English speaking entrepreneurs, because I've been working with French speaking entrepreneurs for a decade now, but really like I want to speak in my first language, and I have more authentic conversations and I can have deeper conversations. And so I'm just moving towards that now.
Nice. I love it. I love it. That's great. So circling back, you want to hold your own retreats. That's a goal for you as a coach. What's your plan to get there? How are you gonna make that happen?
Well, I'm currently on this trip going around to about 3 or 4 retreat centers, actively, getting the details about them, the logistics, feeling the energy. Is this the kind of place I would want to go as a guest myself? So I'm currently in the research portion in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
8 years ago, I've had this dream for a long time. So 8 years ago, I bought this lakefront property for the intent to have retreats. I already did weekend workshops. I host weekend workshops at my home. The radical honesty, authentic leadership. I've held my own with intuition. So I've already started that, but I would like to do it more and more, and actually like have a place where people can rent, because rent for a month, or
Mhm.
have almost, because my home I've created, I call it like the house of healing. People who naturally want to heal are drawn to this particular home, and I want to invite more people. It's just me alone in this home, and there's like 3 other rooms, and my lifestyle is very calm. It's daily yoga, daily meditation, detox smoothies in the mornings, uh, going for forest, forest bathing, these walks in the forest, swimming, having sunset meditations. Like my day is a retreat. And so it's like, oh, I can create this sanctuary for other business professionals. And at the same, and I have so many themes. I have a list of themes of like weekend retreats that people want to do, for authors, because I know what it feels like to be blocked as an author.
Mhm.
um, Relationships, I know the struggles, I'm in my late 30s, and the struggles of relationships and the heartbreak and what that's all about. Or for finally trusting my intuition in business, because I felt those were two totally different things, but really they need to be together really on a daily basis. So I just have a authentic communication. Like I just have a list of like fun weekend workshops that I want to do, but I also want to be able to open my home as a sanctuary for like a reboot, a restart, grounding, recentering for those business professionals who want to just have a break from maybe their current life and have a really peaceful place. I don't have TV. I don't have these, I have, high speed internet so people can work, but really a quiet place to work and recenter and refocus, and also to have, even coaching with me on whatever area they need to work on. So that's a dream I'd like to really be able to manifest for 2023.
That sounds amazing. I'll share with you briefly a little bit about my life. So my wife and I, we were living in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon, and we had a very similar dream. We wanted to get out a little closer to nature. We did a vision board. We wrote down our perfect average day, meditated on that, I read my perfect average day every day for 6 months, and we stumbled across this beautiful piece of property. Now we bought it, we built a house on it. We've got about 30 acres on the edge of national forest in the Washington State Cascade Mountains. And I'm, looking outside my window right here, and there's a snow-capped mountain. You can kind of see back here, there's snow on the ground and evergreen trees kind of peeking out. It's a beautiful spot, and what a place to be able to work and just live and exist. And it's very peaceful. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing. Tell us a little bit about your ideal client. Who is your ideal client? Who do you work with today, and who would you like to be working with that maybe you're not working with today?
Hmm. Well, currently I work with some young entrepreneurs who, I'm a decade from where I can relate to every struggle they're going through. So I like to really work with, any age entrepreneur because I can relate to all of what they're going through. In the future, I would love to work more with, executives, um, people in leadership positions who are able to have a greater influence on all of their team and their employees, like they're in a place of power. And it's like, if they can really connect more into heart center or learn to communicate authentically with their team, that ripple effect, I think has a greater impact.
Mhm. That phrase authentic, well, just even that word authentic, but the phrase authentic communication can have a little bit of, it's almost like a loaded term these days. I feel like a lot of different people use it and maybe it means different things to some people, or even in some circles, I get the impression that maybe it's lost its meaning because it's overused so much. What does authenticity and authentic communication, what does that mean to you?
Interesting question. Well, for me, it's really about, taking off that mask. We often come and, portray, oh, what does someone else want? Or what, does society want from me? Or, all of these just layers. There's just so many layers. Just like, okay, take that mask off. And what is really inside, what is really who I am without that shame of who I am. And it's also naming those shameful parts.
Mhm.
Like we're all in the same struggle. We're all, there's no one who's perfect or who's made it. It's like, yeah, I can relate to so many people and I can relate to so many people's pains and what they're going through because I see myself in them. Like I feel like we're all the same. We're just humans trying to figure life out. And for me, being authentic is really getting out of my head, dropping into my heart and looking into someone's eyes, holding space for them. When someone doesn't give me, if someone asks me a question and I feel that they really aren't interested, I have zero desire to be authentic at that moment. How are you doing, JD? Oh, I'm good. There's zero authenticity in that whole conversation. And that's how humans usually connect, or maybe bosses. I don't know. I've never worked in the corporate world. I've always been an entrepreneur. So I imagine, bosses like, okay, how are you? How are you? But does a boss actually sit for 1 minute? Like, how are you today? And for that person to have a moment to say, I'm not okay today, and it's because of this at home,
Mhm.
or I'm really anxious about this, or I fear that you perceive me like this, or just creating a moment in a day to go like drop in and like what's really happening in this experience of being human. There's this practice I absolutely fell in love with, and it's called circling. And it's almost like how do I describe it? Um, this interpersonal meditation where usually I meditate with my clothes and this is a time for me. But circling is a moment where you circle, like there's about maybe 5 or 6 people, and then we put all of our attention on one person. And we ask, like, what is it like? We're all curious, like, what is it like being you as Michael today in this moment? And you don't say any stories, you don't share anything from your mind. You go, oh, and you drop into your body.
Mhm.
And I think the body is very wise and it knows a lot. That's why I talk a lot about intuition.
Sure.
Intuition can come to us in many ways, but a lot of people get it through like the gut, gut instinct, like, and it's not just for women. Many successful businessmen say this, oh, it was a gut instinct and they won't maybe say intuition. And
Mhm.
again, the terms are unimportant. Like we don't have to get attached to these terms,
Sure.
but the body has a lot of wisdom. I write about this in my book. When I'm interviewing, people can have the most amazing resumes and they're impressive, they're beautiful, they're stunning, they're charming. But how do I feel when I'm sitting with them over Zoom? Like I feel connection. I don't need to be in person like with them. I can be in this moment with them How do I feel when
Mhm.
I'm in their presence? And that's telling. And I've just been able to, choose the most amazing staff who like are just better than I could ever expected. I've never had problems. I delegate something and I completely let that go. And I'm on to other things and I can work on volunteering and other projects and writing and serving in other ways because of me trusting my intuition at a very important time. But
Mhm.
going back to authenticity, I hope I was able to answer that. Um, yeah, just connecting to the body, connecting to the heart,
Mhm.
speaking the good and the bad, you know, um,
No, I think
not.
I think that's a great answer. It's especially for entrepreneur types, right? A lot of us are kind of type A, hard driving, always have goals that we're shooting for, and you know, there's always more to do, right? And I know in my past, I can speak for myself. I've had coaches that help me get out of my head and into my heart and into my body. And it's just, it's a very different place to approach problems from, to approach challenges from. And that's, as entrepreneurs, that's what we do, right? We're constantly approaching problems and challenges. We're looking for solutions. This is literally like what we do every day. And to
Mhm.
be able to get out of your head and approach that from your heart, from your gut, whatever you want to, call it, but basically get out of your head and into your body. It feels very different, and it gives you, just a different frame. I think a very different frame, and that can be a huge benefit for us. For
Mhm.
anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was, yeah, it's just more healing than people, people just want to be heard. And I think that's the gift of a coach, even just teaching English. When I was teaching English to business professionals,
Mhm.
sure, like I would teach grammar, but I wanted deep conversations as well. So I would give homework on the side. Like, but my homework was never related to learning English or grammar. It was, hey, go read that book we spoke about, or hey, rest some more, or spend some more time with your kids, or like that was always my weekly homework of recenter, like take a
Mhm.
moment for yourself because as entrepreneurs, we just burn ourselves out. And I used to be super high achiever. Like what like I relate to that. I want validation and recognition and all of these things and to work more. And that's how I was brought up. Work really hard. I'm very disciplined. And I'm good about that. But then, I went to Costa Rica last year and I moved my company 100% online. And I did a minor changes. People had no idea, like, how can she be, paying all her bills in Canada and backpacking and all of these things, like managing her company. People had no idea what was happening. And I
Mhm.
literally made just simple, minor changes to my life that opened up more money, more time, more freedom. And it's about being creative. But if we're just in this rat race all the time, we never stop and go, hey, like, what do I really want? And what are these simple adjustments that I can make in my life to get there? And it often is easier than we think. And we just, as humans, are just like going and struggling and struggling. And I watch people, I see people, and people are spending lots of money to come to this specific retreat center. And I see their struggles and they give themselves a week, even a week. And some of them fly home early. They're like, I can't, there's too much space and there's too much. And they're business owners and managers. And they fly home 2 days early. They won't even allow themselves a full week
Mhm.
for themselves. And I find that unfortunate. And so it's like, wow, if I can help someone give some self-love and time for themselves and more money and freedom, then that is like would be super. That's my ultimate goal.
Yeah, I love it. You mentioned the rat race, and I can't remember who said this, so I don't know who to attribute the quote to, but it was the something along the lines of the day that you stop racing is the day you win the race,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is
I
pretty powerful.
I had such an epiphany one day. I think I wrote this story in my book because I was I rarely go to the city. Like I work from home, love being at home, and I committed to going to a networking event. And it was like a 7 a.m. networking event, but it was a 2 hour commute. I think even in the winter. So I had to leave at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to be late for any, like I don't, I don't want to, I didn't want to be late. And I'm going like just to this networking event. And then there was a standstill. Like, and I never, you know, I'm never in traffic. So I didn't realize it just stopped. Like traffic stopped. And I was very, very far from my destination. And I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? Like, this is going to be really bad. And then there was this other side, like an exit. And I was like, oh, well, why isn't everyone taking that? And so I took that exit, and that highway was parallel but empty.
Yeah.
So then I'm going like full speed and going, I don't understand. Why are all the people stuck there when this road is empty? And then I just boomed in, went in, and I was on time. And it's like a big epiphany. I was like, oh, these are employees who are going, they're in the rat race, in the grind, doing just on autopilot, just life. Okay, they won't check another route. There's like a quick little offset, and I took, this fast, the fast road. And I was like, oh, I think that's entrepreneurs. We have to be a little bit creative and a little bit think outside the box than everyone else. And yeah, it gets us to our destination, I think, faster. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, getting out of that rat race, just you can make your life so much easier.
Absolutely. Um, tell me about being an intuition coach. What is an intuition coach? I think you
Yeah,
probably touched on it a little bit at this point, but if you could talk more about that.
yeah, I don't think intuition is for only a select few. I think we all have intuition. And so helping people tap back to that inner wisdom. People, I imagine, for coaching have problems or issues or things they want to resolve.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as a coach, I'm very objective and I'm very opinionated too. And if people ask for my advice, I always give it. But my goal is to help recenter people into finding their own answers, having their own answers. And often intuition for me comes through as quite a quiet whisper. So this is bigger. It's about slowing down your life. If you can't slow down your entire life, well, slowing it down for that time we're together, at least, to be able to hear that whisper, to be able to solve the problems, because again, it's empowering people back to go, you have all your answers. You know how to solve this. You know what you really want. One of the first questions I asked, just as a icebreaker question with my clients back in the day to get them to speak English, was like, what did you want to be when you grew up? And these are adults, and they're like, I forget, I don't know. It's like, of course you know, as that little inner child, like that little girl and that little boy, you knew everything that you wanted to be in this life. What were you drawn to? What were your interests? What were your passions? Some people come to my workshops and they're like, passions? I don't have any passions. Of course you have passion. They're like, let's do a workshop. Do it. They're like, Jadi, create a workshop on passion. I have so many passions. My problem is that I can't focus because I have too many passions. But it's like, well, how am I different from them?
Mm-hmm.
I'm only different because when I have a passion, I allow it to come to fruition and I go, yeah, right on. And I fuel that passion. Whereas others have a passion. It might be painting, it might be whatever their art, their gifts are. I don't know. But they're just push it down and they don't allow that to surface.
Mm-hmm.
So really like helping them tap into their inner wisdom. It could even be inner child wisdom. And I feel like when you live a life full of passions and you're in alignment with your values, you have this energy and this vitality that the world needs. So that was a long answer to your question. I hope I answered it, but it's a lot, and I don't think I know how to answer it yet. Intuition coach, helping people listen to that inner wisdom and the whispers of their intuition that is always there. I often, a quote, I forget who it is. It's in my book. It says, intuition is your best friend. It only wants the best for you. So
Mm-hmm.
learning to listen to that best friend in all aspects of our life.
Like it. I like it. Where do you get your clients right now? How do you market your services?
I'm really working more on YouTube.
Okay.
This is something I never did with my last company.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, I want to try something new, because I'm sitting in front of the camera and I am working on topics of entrepreneurship and intuition or books. I'm constantly learning and reading, and
Mhm.
so these things that I'm working on, I imagine there's someone else who wants to work on it as well. So I sit down and I just start speaking, almost like channeling, like intuitively, like what needs to be shared.
Mhm.
And so I'm making more and more videos that way, and I'm really trying to spread that out into the world. And then with YouTube, I have my list of, you know, the book where you can buy the book, where you can get coaching, where you can um, what else, join retreats, like all of the other information about me. So that's one thing that's a nice avenue. Another, which is a super new avenue for me too, is podcasts and having this access to different, group of people that I would never be able to speak with. So these two totally different techniques I've never done before. And yeah, I need to step out of my comfort zones and do different things and new things. So that's what I'm doing with this coaching company now.
Nice. Nice. What does a typical engagement with you look like when you work with your clients? Do you do like you have like a 3 month package or a 6 month package, or how does that look?
Yes, I do. I start with a 3 month, and I call is 1-to-1, and I call it the unlimited package. And it's kind of like laser coaching, but not really because it's a little bit longer than laser coaching.
Mhm.
But it's really about help being available for someone when they want to do these check-ins. I work again with these super busy business professionals. I don't want to block off an hour or sometimes with my coaching it was 3 hour blocks. I was drained and exhausted. I want to
Mhm.
be able to like, okay, work on a focused problem quickly, efficiently, get on with their day. And so to be able to have access to me for these 3 months, to really be able to have enough time to shift,
Mhm.
but also not too long where they may lose enthusiasm or focus on their goals.
During that 3 month period, is there like a once a week regular meeting, or do they have access to you through like an app like Voxer or WhatsApp or something like that?
Yeah, they'll have access to WhatsApp for check-ins. I like Zoom, or it could be calls or emails, but it's not scheduled. I don't, again, want to have that like, okay, this time, this hour. Nope. They choose when they want to reach out to me. Again, on my availability, but I can usually make time for people. So, yeah, it's really based on them, their needs, when they want to have some maybe shift or something to work on, because when I was coached, I would have maybe an issue and go like, oh, I have to wait 2 weeks, and almost feel like I would have to hold that issue inside of me and almost eat away. And
Hmm.
really, it could be shifted immediately,
Hmm.
very quickly. So yeah, I have just a different technique now.
Nice. Nice. Um, what sort of things did you first struggle with when you started coaching?
Oh, when I started coaching, in what way?
Oh, what like roadblocks that you ran into, things that you failed at and learned from, just struggles. Did you run into any kind of struggles when you first started coaching um, that you had to overcome to get to a level where you felt like you were a successful, remarkable coach, as it were?
Yeah, I think maybe getting myself known, that's I think the ultimate. If I want to serve and I want to help as many people, but if they don't know I exist, and those people who are looking for me don't know I'm there and that this is like a thing, is to like an empowerment and intuition coach, then I'm unable to serve anyone. So this is just the ultimate challenge. I think on a daily basis, and that might always be my challenge. I don't know if that's, I'm not this celebrity, so people don't know who I am, so I think that may be a challenge for a while, but yeah, just being known, getting people, being able for people to find me.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, marketing, building your authority, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
yeah. Nice. Okay. Maybe it makes sense. Tell us about some big wins that you've had in your career.
Yeah, my biggest wins is really one, helping, entrepreneurs as they grow, create more time and balance in their life. That's super important for me. One is um, when clients say, this is the highlight of my week. I was like, okay, I did something right. There was something beneficial that happened where they're looking forward to, having this coaching. When coaches have, or not coaches, when my clients have this confidence now, or this passion, or really like these aha moments for me, as I mentioned earlier, like none of this is all monetary. It's like that's not how I I'm not, that's not how I market myself, going like, oh, you will have this many more in sales per month. It's like, how, you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. So
Mhm.
my value is, okay, you sure you can, like, that's the thing. I was working so hard and not making more money. I was working 12-hour days and making less money than I am now, and working 1 or 2 hours on my other company, and then now I have all this time for coaching and writing. I wanted to write more books. So yeah, my wins are when then people, or even bosses, are like, I've had that authentic conversation, or dropped into their heart center. Like for me, those are the biggest wins that really fuel me more than anything.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. JD, you mentioned earlier that you have a book. And I think I mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast in your bio as well. Can you tell us more about your book, Intuitive Business Connections? There it is.
Yeah. When I was younger, well, yeah, I was like very, like, one of my huge passions is spirituality and entrepreneurship. And then when I was younger, I tried to separate them. Like it was like, oh, no one can know. And then as I've become more confident and aligned, I would say, uh, I've merged my two passions together to bring in spirituality in business, which I think is super important. And one day I was walking in the forest and I got this download of the name of the book and what it was going to look like. And I wrote this book so I have 36 chapters. I was 36 when I wrote it. And I have three sections to the book: intuition. So it was all about kind of intuition in business. Second is business, like, you know, aspects of business that, we need to work on. And then also connections and the importance of connecting to cultures, networking, collaboration versus, competition, like just all of these things. And I wrote, I was doing this 10-day water fast. And I really was clean and clear on the chapter titles. So I wrote the chapter titles, the three sections. It was very clear for me. And yet I had no idea what was going to be in the book. And so every morning I would meditate for an hour on the title of that book and just start receiving all of these stories, childhood stories, or my entrepreneurial journey stories. And they're so random, but I love light, easy reads. So I write like like that as well. And
Sure.
so it's just like fun stories of the lessons I've learned, over a decade growing my company. When I came to, a different province, I didn't speak a word of French. I had no support system, no friends. I had to, this was, I was marketing just in books, like it wasn't even online at that time. I feel so old now, I had to, like, couldn't even register my company online. I had to drive to the city and wait in line. And like, it was just like, wow. And in a different language that I didn't speak. And I just started with nothing. And just this really light, easy read. And people have called this, inspiring, or uplifting or just like a positive read to encourage entrepreneurship and thinking about it. I just have such random topics sometimes. It's all about like writing your dream list. When was the last time? I know we're supposed to do this, but it's like, when was the last time you sat and wrote 101? Yeah, it's easy to write 50. Yeah, that's easy. That's like, okay. Then after the 50, you have to really drop it another level to go, okay, what is it that I really deep down want in my life? And sometimes they're small things, like they're not overly massive things, but sometimes I've noticed people are so scared to even name those things, because then that, it creates so much sadness that they pushed it so deep down. So just any of these chapters can bring, I don't know, everyone's drawn to different chapters. And so I think this book is literally for everyone, mother, stay-at-home mom, big CEO, entrepreneur, like anyone, any human who wants to work on different sides of themselves.
I love it. I love your energy as you're talking about it as well.
I'm so proud of this book because it was channeled, like it just like went through me in 2 months. The editing, the all of that, of course, took longer, but it was so effortless.
Yeah,
And I love that. I love when things are easy and effortless. That's a huge sign for me that like I'm in the flow. I'm in the flow of life.
that's great. Yeah, I was thinking about as we're talking here thematically with your coaching and kind of your style, intuitive, spiritual. Are you familiar with a gal named Christine Kane? Christine Kane.
No, I
So
don't.
she wrote a book called The Soul Sourced Entrepreneur. She's a coach as well.
Ooh,
I think you would love that. Yeah, I think you would love that book. That might be worth checking out. It's called The Soul Sourced Entrepreneur.
nice.
And I wonder if there isn't room for you and her to do some kind of collaboration at some point.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the book. Thank you.
My wife and I listened to the audiobook together, and we liked it so much we each bought a physical copy of the book and read it so we could each mark it up.
Epic.
So
Yes, that's fun. Oh, I love knowing about new books like that. So fun.
awesome. JD, is there anything else that you would like to chat about that we haven't had an opportunity to touch upon yet?
No, I spoke a lot. You asked me some really great questions. I feel like it's really clear. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's also like there's so many amazing coaches in the world, and I just would encourage anyone to follow their intuition when choosing a coach. I'm inundated with coaches who are like, oh, work with me, work with. And when I was looking for my coach, I would go through not an interview process because I don't really necessarily need to know their credentials.
Sure.
I want to go, how do I feel when I'm with them? And that's how I chose my coach. So I think that's really important because you need to feel really safe. Like, this is a place where you're able to be vulnerable and safe. People share things with me they've never shared with anyone before. Like,
Mhm.
it's such a privilege to be able to be gifted that. And I don't take it lightly. And I don't think others should take it lightly of like who you're spending your time with, your money, and your energy with. These are very precious resources. And
Couldn't agree more.
so, yeah. And so really just, you know, you know who you need to work with. And so just trust that intuition. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. At Boxer, so we're a marketing agency that works with coaches and consultants. Instead of most agencies that do the kinds of things we do will have discovery calls. So we dropped that phrase years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and we now have chemistry calls
I love
because
that.
because I have found that it really is the chemistry is more important than the discovery process. The discovery is going to happen if the chemistry is there.
Mhm.
And I think that's also true arguably more so for coaches, right? Because you guys, right, a coach is working with someone, there is that hyper intimate exchange. For us, the things you were talking about, people are spending their money with us, they're spending their time, their energy with us, they're trusting us to represent them to the public, to their ideal client. And that's a big responsibility for us as well. And we want to make sure that the chemistry is there and that it's a good fit for everyone. And I think that, yeah, that I can see how that goes doubly for a coach that's doing more intimate work than we're even doing.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. JD, where can our listeners and viewers connect with you online?
Yeah, the best way is my website, intuitivebusinessconnections.com. Also, you can find me on YouTube at Intuitive Business Connections. And, even, on Amazon, you can buy my book. And, I'm pretty easy to find. LinkedIn, anywhere.
Awesome. For those of you guys listening in your cars, or if you're going on a jog or at the gym or whatever, we'll have all of those links on the show notes page, on our website, boxer.agency. JD, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time. I know you're busy. You're in Costa Rica. You're helping change people's lives, and I can't tell you how much I respect and appreciate the work that you're doing. So thank you for taking time out of your day to be here.
Thank you, Michael. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And thank you, of course, to our viewers and listeners. We appreciate you guys as well. And we'll see you next time. Take care.